Greetings, everyone. And most of you are watching this on Valentine's Day. So I want to wish you all and all your couples out there a wonderful and delightful Valentine's Day. So my sermon today is geared, of course, for married couples, and title is 5 Important Pillars. So as most of you know, I started last Sunday my new sermon series for the month of February. And last week we looked at message for single people. Today again, message for married couples. And then next Sunday, more philosophical discussion. Why is it that men are from Venus and women are from Mars? And the last discussion will be about puppy love. What my dogs have taught me about God's unconditional love for us all. So that's my theme for this month. So I think that most of you know that during the pandemic, there was certainly a spike and uptick of people breaking up and divorces. And this was true not only here in the United States and Canada, but it was also true across Europe. And in fact, even here in Amarillo, there was an article a few weeks ago I saw this, where divorce lawyers here in Amarillo have seen uptick of cases being filed for people getting divorced. It's sad. It's sad, but true. So there's no doubt that Satan and his demons done a pretty good job of attacking marriages and families throughout 2020. And since this is the case, it is so essential for us in the body of Christ to build strong foundation to our marriages. Now more so than ever, we need to build strong foundation so that our marriages can withstand anything that comes along the way. We all know that a house that's built on a strong, solid foundation will be able to withstand storms and floods and tempests. They will be able to withstand those things. And a house that's built on a weak foundation will not be able to withstand a storm that may come along the way. It will fall and collapse from within. So for these reasons, again, we need to build a strong, solid, rock-solid foundation or pillar to our marriages. And Jesus Christ also said it very clearly that we also need to build that strong, solid foundation for our Christian faith. Without it, we will not be able to withstand the storms of life. It's the same thing for marriages. This is what he said in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 to 27. Anyone who listens to my teaching and obeys me is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the flood waters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it is built on rock. But anyone who hears my teaching and ignores it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and the floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will fall with a mighty crash. So again, this is the reason why we need to build a nice, strong, solid foundation to our marriage. And the inspiration of my message is based upon an article written by a marriage expert. And the title of the article was The 5 Pillars of a Healthy Christian Marriage. In other words, things that marriage experts have seen, the 5 pillars they have seen that ultimately create strong, solid Christian marriage. We're going to look at all 5 pillars today. So pillar number one is the pillar of love. Number 2, the pillar of trust. Number 3, the pillar of respect. Number 4, the pillar of understanding. And finally, number 5, the pillar of faith. All 5 are essentials and key ingredients to building a strong Christian marriage that ultimately will succeed and last until death do you part. So, now most obvious, of course, is a pillar of love. And when I use the word love, when you use the word love, it turns out that most people in the world, and your family, your relatives, your friends, most people associate the word love with a feeling. And the biblical definition of love is very different than just a feeling. It's not just a feeling in the Holy Scriptures. Again, For most people out there, love is just a feeling. Oh, I'm so in love with this person. I cannot imagine my life without him or without her. It's all these lovey-dovey feelings. It's just, a lot of hormones and chemical that goes on when you're falling in love. But it's just a feeling. And that's not how the Bible defines love. God says that love is a decision. It's a decision. It's not just a feeling. Better yet, love is not just a feeling, it's a commitment. And above all, a sacrifice. Now you may be wondering, asking yourself, how is love a sacrifice? Well, we all know that, all marriages go through the good times and they go through the bad times. And it's about giving and receiving. It's about making sacrifices in order for that marriage to succeed. Without those sacrifices, your marriage will not be able to succeed and triumph. So again, it's more than just feelings. Again, it's about giving and receiving, giving and taking. In other words, love is defined as actions, certain actions that we must perform in our marriages so that those marriages can succeed. And the Apostle Paul clearly defined those so-called love actions, right? And this is how he defines it from the really famous 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and verses 4 through 7. Again, these are the actions that love requires of us all, especially for couples. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance, the good and the bad. So you notice it? Nothing here about feelings. Nothing about all those lovey-dovey feelings. Nothing about passion. Nothing about lust. Instead, again, these are actions. Love is patient and kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. And it keeps no records of wrong. So, the next time someone tells you, are you still in love with your spouse? Don't look at it from a point of view of just a feeling. Better yet, the question is, are you prepared to do these things for your spouse? Are you prepared to be patient and kind and not envious and not jealous and not boastful and not proud, not rude, not self-seeking, not easily angered, and keep a record of no wrongs? Are you prepared to do this? If the answer is yes, then yes, you are still in love with your spouse. And this is what we should be striving for in our Christian marriages. Pillar number 2, trust. It goes without saying that there cannot be a successful marriage without trust. If there's no trust, those marriages cannot succeed. Those marriages will ultimately fail if there is no trust. But it turns out, according to marriage experts, there's 3 levels of trust, and which may not be so obvious. And we're going to look at all 3 levels of trust. We're going to look at the foundation of all. The foundation, level number 1, fidelity. That you have made a commitment to your spouse, so you're going to be faithful to your spouse. Not commit adultery, to death, do your part. There has to be that type of trust, that you're going to be faithful to your spouse. Without it, it's hard for any marriage to succeed without that sense of fidelity towards your spouse. Now, I've seen it time and time again where some marriages, there is infidelity. There is adultery. But even in those situations, God can help the spouses to reconcile and forgive and move forward. And I've seen them move forward and ultimately succeed in their marriage. And the spouse, the offending spouse, tends to learn from his or her mistake and from their infidelity. I shouldn't say mistake, from their infidelity. And those marriages can't succeed. But it's very difficult once you've broken the trust. It takes a while before that trust can be regained. And it can be regained if given enough time and forgiveness and reconciliation. The second level of trust is, of course, honesty. You have to be able to share with your spouse anything and everything. And your spouse must feel secure and safe to be able to share anything and everything with you. You have to create this community of trust and honesty in your own marriage bond so you can share everything with your spouse. And indeed, there should be no secrets from your spouse, and there should be nothing hidden from your spouse. As soon as you begin to hide things and have secrets from your spouse, that's when things begin to unravel. That's when things begin to ultimately fail. So you have to make sure that you don't hide anything, you don't keep any secrets. Be honest always with your spouse. I like this definition of honesty. Honesty without love is cold, and love without honesty is shallow. It's not deep. It's not lasting. Speak truth with love. Speak truth with love. That's what honesty is ultimately all about. And finally, the third level of trust is the behavior of the spouse. In other words, how you tend to behave, what your spouse expects from you. That sense of respect, the sense of trust, the sense of commitment to you, and whether they are with you or away from you, right? Certain things that your spouses ultimately expect from you, and for you to be considerate, thinking of each other, right? So that's also an important level of trust within the marriage bond. Pillar number 3, respect. Respect for each other. Here's where many times marriages tend to fail, when couples tend to lose respect for each other. When they begin to be disrespectful in what they say and how they treat each other, and the condescending language that they use toward each other, mean, rotten words they share with each other, that's a loss of respect, and those marriages are in danger of failing, of getting divorced. So you have to make sure that you always respect your spouse, no matter how angry you may be. No matter how angry you be, always do it in a manner that shows respect towards your spouse. Here's a valid question that all spouses should be asking themselves today. How much do I value my spouse? In other words, if your spouse does not feel valued by you, that spouse will not feel loved by you. And those marriages are in danger of failing. So your spouse must be comfortable with you, and must even feel valued, that you value them as a person. And if they don't feel valued, it's dangerous. Without respect, then those spouses tend to feel devalued. If you are mean and nasty to your spouse when you're angry with them, they feel devalued. If you don't take into account their thoughts and emotions, if you're not considerate of them, then they feel devalued, disrespected. So it's, again, very essential that your spouse feels valued by you. Of course, we also know that men and women are very different from each other. And how men feel value is very different than how women feel valued by their husbands. A man, in fact, feels valued because men are problem solvers. And men are very task-oriented. If a man accomplishes something or solves a problem, or gets something done, he wants to feel appreciated by his spouse. And if she takes the time to appreciate him and shows him words of gratitude, then he feels valued. On the other hand, a woman's very different. A woman feels valued when her husband listens to her, takes this time to try to understand what she's saying to him, spends quality time with her. And yes, listening sometimes can be difficult because women tend to talk. We men all feel that women tend to talk a little too much, right? But it's still important for you to listen to her. Even when you feel that what she's saying is to be dull and boring, please listen to her. Because this is how a woman feels valued by her husband. This is the reason why women tend to talk loud among themselves, right? Because this is how they feel valued in their friendships with other women. Because women listen to each other and share emotions and thoughts and feelings and blah, 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 right? This is how they feel valued. So they want to feel valued by not only just the female friends, but they want to feel valued by their husband. So listen to her when she talks to you and really pay attention to what she's saying, and even contribute to the conversation. This is how she feels valued. And I know that, again, this is tough for us guys, but it's something that we need to work on again and again and again. And the goal, in fact, for couples is to be able to be students of each other. Study her, study him, and figure out what makes them tick. If you can figure that out, then you can ultimately have a better, successful marriage. And respect also means, and this is essential, this is crucial, this is something I've heard again, mainly from men, from husbands, that sometimes their spouses make them feel belittled. They are insulting, condescending, and they make them feel worthless and insignificant. Treat them like dirt. And so you can't respect your husband if you are devaluing them in any form, shape, or way, if you are belittling them in any shape or form or way. So, and the same thing applies for men. Make sure you never, ever belittle her. Because it's a big no-no, and it's also very disrespectful. So don't belittle each other. I don't care how angry you are with your spouse. Don't belittle him, and don't belittle her. Always treat them with respect and dignity. Peter, the Apostle Peter, who was married, he had this to say: respect everyone, and show special love for whom? For God's people. Who is the closest God's person that you know? Your spouse. Show that special love and respect them. Always. Again, even when you're mad and upset with each other, show utter and complete respect. Pillar number 4, understanding. And this is a toughie because men and women, again, we're so different from each other, and how we communicate is very different. And sometimes we tend to say things and it could be interpreted the wrong way by our spouse, even though we may not mean it in that way. So it's very important that we understand each other. And in fact, men, we tend to get in trouble sometimes for just by saying something. We didn't mean it that way, right? And she takes it the wrong way, and you have a big blowout, a big old fight. This is a story of a man who had who faced such a similar situation. And again, something's funny, something that most men can relate to. A big blowout fight. He said something, she took it the wrong way, and the next thing you know, they're having a big old argument. And the man is completely lost, thinking, "Oh my God, what did I say? I didn't mean to say that. Please don't be so mad with me." Well, on this one occasion, that's what happened. She's really upset. She's angry, and he's lost. And he finally decides to write her a little note, trying to kiss and make up with her, and trying to clarify things, So this is what he wrote to her, to his dear wife. He said this: "My dear love, if I ever say something in the future that can be taken 2 ways, and one of those ways makes you sad or angry, I meant it the other way." So again, something that all men can relate to. Sometimes we don't. The truth of the matter is, we men, we don't want to make you angry. We don't want to make you upset unless we're rotten to the core. We don't want to make you angry or upset. But sometimes we say things and it comes off the wrong way, and then we get in trouble. That's all part of communication and understanding each other. So men and women tend to communicate very differently, and we have to study each other to try to figure out how my spouse communicates, how they react, and what makes them tick. And if we can get there, then we can create stronger marriages. These are the questions we should ask ourselves, that we should know about our spouses. Number 1, how well do I know my spouse? In fact, some of you may want to take a little picture of this, so you could look upon this after the message. Number 1, how well do I know my spouse? Number 2, do I know what it is that makes him or her happy, sad, frustrated, or angry? Do I really know? Number 3, am I aware of how he or she will react to certain situations? Number 4, how does he or she think and communicate? Again, men and women are very different how we think and how we communicate. And last but not least, number 5, why does he or she feel certain ways? Why they tend to react in certain ways in a given situation. And that's what that question is all about. So these are the questions we should be asking ourselves. If we do not know the answers to these questions, then we need to learn these things. Learn them so we can create better, stronger marriages. And sometimes these things, they take a while. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes time, right? Even if you've been married 20, 30 years, you're still learning from your spouses, you know. It takes time, but you have to learn what makes your spouse tick. You know, why they react in the way they do, how they communicate, how they feel about certain things. And then if you learn these things, again, you create stronger marriages. This is what research shows, according to marriage experts. Understanding one's spouse is vital in order to ensure that one will be able to show respect, communicate effectively, and be what the other person needs. The key is to learn what one spouse interprets as love and do that. In other words, your spouse may feel love in a certain different way than how you feel love, and once you figure out how she feels love or how he feels love, then do those things. Even though one's tendency is to do what would make oneself feel loved. In other words, sometimes the way we try to show love is how we want to be loved, but we have to do it the way they want to be loved. Something my wife tells me all the time. The bottom line is that a husband must become the student of his wife, and a wife must become the student of her husband for them to grow a great marriage together. Very wise words from these marriage experts. Zechariah in chapter 8 verse 16 says it best. But you must be truthful with each other, and you must give fair decisions that lead to peace and harmony in the marriage and in the household. Peace and harmony. This is the things that we should be striving for within the marriage bond. We shouldn't be competing with each other, but instead creating harmony and peace in our household. And the last pillar, pillar number 5, faith. This is not the last, not the least, right? It's the last but not the least of the 5 important pillars to a successful and healthy Christian marriage. So it goes without saying that we must realize that there's someone out there greater than ourselves, you know, that the focus is not about us. The focus is not about my feeling, my love, my spouse, or even my children. That the focus is about God, who is greater than all of us. Greater, and He's greater than our love for each other. He's greater than our love for our spouse, greater than our love for our family, greater than our love for our own children. And that we must learn to love Him in order to succeed in life and succeed in our marriage. And not only that, it is only God, once we find Him, it is only God who can ultimately be the source of your ultimate happiness. You cannot depend upon your spouse to give you that ultimate happiness. Yes, your spouse can provide some happiness, but not the ultimate happiness and peace and joy in this life, in this world. It is God who provides that happiness. It is God who provides that peace. It is God who provides that joy, that ultimate joy in this life and in this world. And once we have Him, then everything else will fall into place. It is that same God who can help us become better people in this world, a better person in this life. And once we become better people, a better person, then we become a better husband or a better wife to our spouses, right? But God is the one who can help us become better people because we are imperfect. And I think the original sin really is that we are very selfish. We're very selfish. But God can help us to become unselfish so that we become better spouses in the end. It is that same God who can help us to oversee or overcome or overlook the imperfections from our spouses, who can help us to love our spouses despite their imperfections. Why? Because we serve a God, a perfect God, who loves us despite our imperfections. He's the great example that even though He's perfect, He loves us despite our imperfections, despite the fact that we are sinners. In the same manner, He inspires us to love the imperfections of our spouses, right? To overcome them, to overlook them, and to love them despite their imperfections. It is the same God who can help us to forgive each other. Why? Because we too have been forgiven by a perfect God. And we also are reminded that Jesus tells us, if you forgive one another, then I will forgive you on judgment day. And if you refuse to forgive one another, I will refuse to forgive you too on judgment day. So again, God helps us to forgive each other and to be reconciled with each other and to love each other, even though sometimes they may hurt us and wound us. we learn to forgive, and we learn to be reconciled with our spouses. And it's that same God who can help us create lasting marriages that can stand the test of time. Only God can help us to create those lasting marriages, again, that can stand the test of time. Only God. And so for all these reasons and much more, we need God. We desperately need God. And with God in the equation, with God in the picture, not only will He help us to create lasting, successful marriages, but ultimately life will be better because of it, and happier because of it, and more peaceful because of Him. So we desperately need God to create lasting and successful marriages. The great philosopher, the great Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, said it best in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 26a. If we please God, and the only way we can please God is to have that relationship with Him, a real, genuine relationship with God. If we please God, He will make us wise, wise in all things in life, including wise in our marriages, understanding in all matters, including understanding in our marriages, and happy in life and happy in our marriages. Only God. But we got to please Him in order for God to help us to achieve all these things, become wise, to become understanding, and to become happy in life and in our marriages. As I get ready to wrap up my message, I want to share this video clip, which I tend to share every year, some marriage clip. This one was shared with me by Juan Cabello. He shared this with me and Gloria a couple weeks ago. It cracked me up, and I immediately knew that this was going to be the video clip I was going to share for this year. So for those of you who don't know, there's a segment on YouTube, and also it's actually on TV as well, in syndication, of a judge who has a show called Caught in Providence, Rhode Island. So, cases appear before him, and he tends to rule, decide different matters. Well, on this particular occasion, an older couple, came up to him because her husband, got a ticket. And she's the one doing all the talking. But, it's funny, it's hilarious, but you can see here a glimpse of a successful marriage and what it takes to have a successful marriage. So I think you're going to be blessed and tickled as well. Now be blessed watching this.
Linda Fields.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Linda.
This is my wonderful husband.
Oh.
I got the ticket. He was driving my car.
Oh.
I'm not guilty.
Oh.
He is. Let me explain what happened.
I can't
I
wait.
get the ticket in the mail, and I go, "What's this?" He says, "Just pay it." I said, "What happened?" He says, "I'm at the corner of Eddie and Dudley, and I turned right on a yellow light." I said, "You went through a yellow light?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "I'm not paying it. We're going to fight this."
You have to fight him.
Yeah. So anyway, our son was in the hospital, had a very bad car accident, and he was going there 3 times a day. So I said, "We're going to fight this." So Wednesday, we looked at the video for the first time. And I said, "You went through a red light." And so that's where we stand.
So you came here today to tell me he's guilty.
I'm not guilty. The ticket's in my name.
No,
I'm
know.
not guilty.
No, I understand that. I said, you came here today to tell me he's guilty. So the first thing you did was throw him under the bus.
I'm not throwing myself under. You know?
So you think he's really guilty, huh?
When I looked at that video, if I was a policeman, I would say he was guilty.
Guilty.
Me too.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I mean, it was a little bit close. A little bit close.
I want you to assume that you're a policeman right now, okay?
Yeah.
You're wearing Inspector Quinn's badge, okay?
Okay?
And you look at the video, and then you look at the time on the video. Let's see the front face sheet, please. See where it says red time? She's going to put an arrow there.
0.3?
It says 0.3. You know what that means?
No.
That means he went through the light when it was red
3 seconds?
for 0.3 of a second.
Oh, 3/10. So it was close.
Well, you just said he's definitely guilty. I'm trying to explain to you. Now,
0.3 of a second, that's not much.
all right, now, let me finish.
Okay.
You go through this every day?
Yes, Your Honor.
We've been happily married for 43 years, right?
Yes, dear.
You know, when my wife and I meet people, they usually they'll say, "How long have you been married?" And I say, "We've been happily married for 5 years." Now, my wife is much younger looking than I am, but even though, so they say, "Oh, you've been happily married for 5 years. Is she your second or third wife?" I say, "Oh, no, we've been married 50 years. We've been happily married for 5. But you've been happily married for how long?
Almost 43 years.
43 years. All right, now I'm going to make you a judge, okay? Here you are. Can I call you Linda? You don't mind being
Linda,
called? All right.
that's fine.
All right, well, here's the deal. You're the judge, and the statute that set up this offense, right, allows 0.2 of a second to get through the light, and they don't charge you.
Okay.
And
Missed it by 1.
1/10.
and how do you handle this case? It's 0.3 of a second. Do you give him the benefit of the doubt, right, or do you say, "Hey, you 0.3, pay the fine"? What do you do?
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Because it's your
And
husband.
he has to take me to dinner.
Oh.
That's the deal.
Well,
I have to agree with her, Your Honor.
it's been my custom. It's been my policy, in effect. Without the city coming in and proving the calibration, I think the difference between 0.2 of a second and 0.3 of a second is so small, right, that I usually give the benefit of the doubt, right? Particularly when they come in with some high-powered defense like you.
You don't have to take me to dinner.
No, I'm not going to take you to dinner.
Okay.
I've been happily married for 5 years. Matter is dismissed.
Linda's husband has found the secret to a long, successful marriage. No, it's not active listening or meaningful walks on the beach or mastering the Kama Sutra. Nope. It's much simpler than that. It's 2 simple words.
We've been happily married for 43 years, right?
Yes, dear.
That's right. The 2 most important words for a husband to learn are, yes, dear. Repeat that phrase every time she stops talking, and you're good to go. Pro tip, no charge.
Wasn't that great? Wasn't that great? I love it. Yes, dear. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and happy note end it with 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. And now these 3 shall remain in the end: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. The greatest of these is love. Now go out there and love your spouses. May God bless your marriages. May God help you to create lasting, successful marriages. And let the people of God say amen and amen. Thank you all. So again, I give you thanks for your continued support. For those who are watching this online. And I pray that you all will have a wonderful Valentine's Day for those who are watching on Sunday, and have a wonderful and blessed week. I'll see you next week. God bless you all. Bye.